What happens when the family's secret keeper loses their door? I knew everything was about to fall apart the second I came home and saw my dad holding a screwdriver outside my bedroom. He wasn't fixing anything. He was waiting for my mom, who was standing behind him with her arms crossed. And that stare she used when she'd already made a decision, and nothing on earth could stop her. 3 hours earlier, she found a locked metal cash box under my bed. She didn't open it. She didn't even try to. She just held it like it was radioactive and asked what I was hiding. I told her it was personal writing. She told me personal meant suspicious. That was all it took. That night, she removed my door. She said trust needed visibility. My dad unscrewed the hinges while she lectured me about honesty, and I just stood there feeling sick. She didn't understand what she'd done. That door wasn't for me. It was for everyone else. My room was where my buddies crashed when they were scared to go home after fights with their parents. Where my cousin dumped her drama before ruining a holiday dinner. Where my dad came when he needed someone to rehearse bad news with. I was the unofficial buffer of the family, not the golden child, the shock absorber. And she just took away the only place where people could talk without her listening at the walls. The first mess exploded 2 days later. My cousin Leela locked herself in our bathroom, crying so loud the whole apartment building could hear. She would normally run straight to my room, curl up on the carpet, and talk until she could breathe again. But now there was no door. And my mom, always hovering, followed the sound and barged into the bathroom like she owned it. Leela panicked. And when she panicked, she spilled everything. She'd been vaping for months and was terrified her parents would find out. She trusted me to help her break it to them. Instead, she blurted it to my mom, who reacted like she'd found a dead body. The next morning, my aunt and uncle showed up red-faced, dragging Leela to a youth counselor she didn't need. She shot me this helpless look like I'd betrayed her just by existing. A few days later, it was my dad's turn to break. He came home quiet, the dangerous kind of quiet. My mom sensed something and cornered him in the hallway, asking why he looked guilty. He cracked instantly. He'd been laid off a month earlier. Every morning he left the house pretending to go to work, but was actually sitting in the public library applying for jobs. He would have told me first. He always did. I helped him phrase things so mom wouldn't spiral. But now, with no door, he had nowhere to confess safely. They fought for hours. She accused him of betrayal. He slept in the recliner. Her panic seeped into every room. Week 3 brought the explosion none of us survived. My best friend Marco showed up at the apartment, shaking. He'd gotten into trouble at school for skipping class to visit his grandma in the hospital. He wanted my help figuring out what to tell his parents before the school called. Normally, he'd slip into my room unnoticed, but there was no door. My mom answered the knock. Marco froze and spilled everything on the spot. She dragged him inside and lectured him until he cried. His parents showed up furious. Neighbors watched from their windows. Marco didn't talk to me for 2 weeks. Then came Saturday dinner, the night everything snapped. We had my grandparents, my aunt, my uncle, and everyone was pretending we were fine. We weren't. My little brother suddenly announced he'd been sneaking out at night to see a girl from his robotics club. My mom erupted. My aunt started crying about how her marriage counselor said she and my uncle might separate. My dad muttered that he'd been in therapy for depression and didn't know how to tell anyone. It was chaos, loud, ugly, unstoppable. And then my grandfather quietly said he already knew all of it. Everyone confided in him now because he was the only safe person left. My mom broke. She looked around the table like she didn't recognize anyone. She asked why everyone shut her out. My grandmother answered for all of us. Because you took Jamie's door. That night, my mom reattached the door with shaking hands. She apologized over and over, saying she needed me back. She wanted the old system. She wanted the family glue. I told her I'd help again. She looked relieved. She didn't understand what I meant. The next week, my brother came to me first about sneaking out again. I listened closely, then walked straight to my mom and relayed every detail, including that he'd lied that night at dinner. Marco told me a teacher accused him unfairly. I repeated it loudly at a family gathering so everyone could hear. My dad told me he wasn't sure the marriage could be saved. I forwarded the therapist's email to my mom's phone. They're all furious with me now, asking what's wrong with me. I just smile. They wanted me involved again. They never said in what way.